Hello, it's Erin. Thanks for being here at the channel. Today we're going to make sure that we all know how to recognize when we've written a fragment or run-on instead of a traditional sentence and figure out how to avoid that. So we'll recognize it and avoid it. At the end of the video, you'll find 3 formulas, actually, structures you can use for your writing that make sure your sentence is legit, regular sentence, not a fragment or a run-on. Okay, one thing to say first, and then let's get into this study here of what a sentence needs anyway. Now, you may be using fragments on purpose if you write creatively, journalistically, if you're doing narratives. If you're writing for yourself or to express your style, you might be using fragments or run-ons on purpose, and that's great. They can help convey that. But we're going to talk about business writing and school academic writing, where we do want to avoid those 2 kinds of sentences because they're a little unclear to the reader sometimes. So what does a sentence need to be a legitimate, regular sentence and not a fragment or a run-on? Well, it only needs 2 things. Typically, I call it a who and a what. Who's doing something? What are they doing? If you like grammar, that's called a subject and a verb. If you've read the High Value Writing book, I talk about it as a doer and an action. Someone's doing something, they're taking an action. So you can see on these examples here with the color coding, we have one who and what pair per sentence. Invention changed, supervisor requested, and then with the last sentence, you can see they don't always have to be in the very front. Even if we've said introductory material first, like last year, we still have team grew. These are all correct sentences that have the only 2 required ingredients: who's doing something, what are they doing. First, let's figure out what makes a fragment even happen. Then we'll do the same for a run-on, and then we'll make sure we can fix them. Couple regular sentences to work with from the last slide. What happens with a fragment is when we add information and it does not include both a who and a what. So first of all, definition: a fragment is a sentence that's kind of not a full sentence because it doesn't have the 2 ingredients, a who or a what. It might have one of them, but it doesn't have both. It might even have 0. Here are a couple examples. The invention changed society. There's our who and what in so many ways. I just added that on. It's something we would do out loud, and that would be fine. But it doesn't have a who or a what. Who is doing some ways. There isn't even a verb there, right? So that's a fragment because it does not have a who plus what pair. The second one, last year our team grew. Who plus what? Then I added on mainly because of our increased customer base. Okay, that is very common for a fragment to occur like that. And it's not because we're trying to make a mistake, it's because we're trying to add explanation to the previous sentence. It's a logical thought, but the problem is that green sentence at the bottom does not have a who plus what pair. Mainly because of it would have to be something like, we have grown because of our increased customer base, right? We can't just add that on without introducing a who and a what again in order to make it a complete sentence. Let's take those same 2 sentences and get some run-on going, and we can see what's going on there. The invention changed society in so many ways, which society was really needing at the time. I've said a lot of things within one sentence. Our team grew last year after we hired 5 new staff and a second manager who will provide assistance to the team. Again, it's a little bit getting competitive here. What is the main point of each sentence? The issue with the run-on is we can confuse our reader because it's a little hard to tell now what matters most. Our team grew, we hired 5 new staff, we have a second manager, and they're helpful. It's a lot for one sentence. Again, we need to stick with a who plus what pair, and then we either have to do a period or a semicolon or something else to divide up the sentence, which we'll look at with those formulas at the end. But what's happened here is we're going who, what, who, what, who, what. Team grew, we hired, will provide, manager will provide, things like that. It's just too many in a row. So how did we get here? What is happening that's letting us leave fragments or create these huge run-ons? Well, you can see with the color coding, it's the amount of who's and what's. I like tacos. Fine, good sentence, has a who and what. Especially eating them on Tuesdays. It's a fragment because it's got a what, it does not have a who. What makes it a fragment? When it does not have both pieces. The run-on, you can see it goes through a few who's and what's, especially a bunch of what's. Too many for one sentence. I like tacos, and my colleagues and I would prefer eating them on Tuesdays when there is a sale called Taco Tuesday. Surely I could have broken that up somehow. Again, it's confusing for the reader to hear who, what, again and again. Every time you're going to use a who, what pair, you need some kind of division between them, period, semicolon, connector word. And we fixed them in this way over here by thinking about making one who, what pair per sentence. I like tacos. I'm going to do like who, what. I like tacos. I especially like eating them on Tuesdays. I like tacos. My colleagues and I prefer eating them Tuesdays. It is Taco Tuesday. You can see how I used a period after tacos in the second sentences over here. And then I used a semicolon after Tuesdays. That is another great way to fix a run-on where instead of who, what, you do who, what, semicolon, who, what. Only when those two ideas are related though, right, in topic. Let's check out one more example before we get those three formulas. I'm taking a new sentence here just so you can see, now that you know the who, what situation, you can see what's happening here with the color coding. Regular sentence, oh yeah, these people I was talking with, they can get a little snarky. Now I'm going to add a fragment. They can get a little snarky. Which bugs? They're bugging. That's a verb. We don't have a subject. We've got a fragment. They can get a little snarky, especially during meetings, which bugs because we're trying to be professional. A lot to say at once. You can see we had at least two who, what pairs without dividing them, as we should. Let's look at what we need to do instead and wrap this up. So here are your fix-it formulas, 3 formulas that will prevent you from having either a fragment or a run-on. The first is a simple who, what. The kids team, and by here I mean team of kids, not kids' team. The kids team wants to get ice cream. Or we can do who plus what, semicolon, who plus what, as long as the topics are related. The kids team wants to get ice cream. Summer can be so hot. Summer can be was my second who, what pair. Or thirdly, I can give introductory information to kind of set the scene, and then my who, what after a comma. Because it's so hot out, the kids team wants to get ice cream. Try out these 3 formulas, see if it helps you feel confident that you are not writing with fragments or run-ons. All right, stick around for the next slide if you'd like to hear about the book, and I will see you in the next video. Have a great day, and I hope these ideas help.